Welcome to another video.
Absolutely. We're back again. We know it's been a minute.
Right.
And today we're going to be talking about how the ancient Egyptians looked at life and death, these concepts, as inverted or reversed from how we look at it in modern so-called Western society today.
Right.
So when the ancient Egyptians spoke of death and the dead, they meant to be in human earthly embodiment.
Yes.
And when the ancient Egyptians spoke of those who are living and alive, they meant those who have passed on. Right? So it's the other way around from how we've been looking at it, right? So according to the ancient Egyptians, we're dead right now. This is death. Right here, we're dead.
And when you're dead, you're actually alive.
Exactly.
It's like opposite stuff, yeah.
Right. So the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead actually correctly translates to the ancient Egyptian Book of Living a Human Earthly Life.
Right.
So we're going to go over some information. All right, this is some general scholarly information we printed off of Google here. Go ahead and read, starting right here, son. Go ahead.
The concept that the ancient Egyptians viewed the scoring mortals as the dead is a modern poetic or interpretive of ancient Egyptian philosophy. Ancient Egyptians were known to be profoundly in love with life and saw death as we know it, not as an end, but as transition to a richer, eternal continuation. In this sense, the dead in the afterlife were considered more truly alive than the temporary, scurrying mortals on earth.
Right. So the dead, as we would consider the dead, were considered more alive to the ancient Egyptians. Go ahead and read on right here.
And the dead were the alive.
The dead were the alive.
In the afterlife, a worthy person would enter the field of reeds, paradise, and achieve a immortal state, living with the gods. This new state was a perfect, timeless extension of earthly life, free from pain and hardship. In contrast, the living were simply scurrying mortals, hustling and toiling in a world that would inevitably pass. The power of the dead. The ancient Egyptians believed that the dead remained connected to the world of the living. A person's spirit, Ka, could move between the tomb and the world to the living, accepting offerings and blessings. The deceased were not powerless ghosts, but active supernatural intermediaries who can influence events in the world.
That's right. So now we're going to read a section from the ancient Egyptian book of living a human earthly life, the Book of the Dead. Because remember, this is death right now. We're dead right now, living in human earthly embodiment. We haven't started living yet, according to the ancient Egyptians' perspective of things, right? This is actually called the Book of Coming Forth by Day, and the word day actually is significant of the solar energy, the Helios energy, which it talks about in the Isis Thesis. We're going to get into that in just a moment here. I read from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, this section right here. Go ahead, son.
A balance with the heart symbolizing the conscience of Ani in one scale and feather, emblematic of right and truth in the other.
Right. So we got the heart on one side of the scale, and the feather on the other side. Right. So it's important to know that this path that the pharaohs were well aware of not reincarnating, not being recycled, not coming back here after you die in the sense of what we think of as death, is something that we're supposed to be implementing right now. It's not like how a typical person might think of it, that the heart's going to be weighed on the scale against a feather after we die in the way of what we think of as death from this earthly life, right? If the heart is weighed on the scale against the feather in death, and physical human earthly embodiment is death, then our hearts are being weighed on the scale against the feather right now. So it's not something that we wait to happen after the flesh decomposes. You know, it's happening right now. Our hearts are being judged right now. So in order to make this ascension that the Isis Thesis talks about, we need to make our hearts lighter than a feather right now. We are under the scale of judgment. The heart's being weighed on the scale against the feather right now. This is death, human earthly embodiment, right? Now I'm going to go to this page of the Isis Thesis here. See, it says, In chapter 52 of the Theban Recension, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Osiris rises and turns himself from his left to his right side, which is a 180-degree turn. We covered this in previous videos on the Isis thesis. So in order to make this transition, you have to orientate yourself from left to right. So that means getting out of the left hemisphere of the brain so much, or too much concentration on that, and getting into the right hemisphere of the brain. It's a left to right orientation, 180 degrees. So we're not facing the tunnel of light in the moment of what Western society refers to as death, Western culture refers to as death, but we're turning the other way around as we orientate ourselves to right hemisphere thinking, facing the other way. You know, we're not going forward toward the tunnel of light, which recycles you, but we're going the other way, right?
Right.
The 180-degree turn where we're talking about here, the left to right orientation, is getting out of only concentration in the left hemisphere of the brain and balancing it with turning toward the right hemisphere of the brain. So it's changing the way you think. It's changing the way you approach and observe this human experience.
180 degrees.
180 degrees. We're going to turn from left to right, right? So we're going to be in the right hemisphere of the brain. That's how we view things. Like Buddha says, we view this human experience without putting judgment or emotion on it, but just being the observer. This is the path to avoid reincarnation so that you don't get recycled after you die in the sense of what Western culture considers death, right? Parity reversal turns up to down, left to right, and front to back. We discussed this same process relative to biological molecules in part 2 when the deceased turned from left to right for insertion into a lambda vector. Now we observe Osiris performing the same 180-degree turn from left to right, indicating a left-handed molecule. Because of this parity reversal, Osiris, or the prophage, excises, activating the lytic lifestyle. It's a lytic lifestyle. It's not something that we have to wait to happen after we die in the sense of what Western culture thinks death is, right? And Osiris is represented as upside down and inside out. We could say that Osiris is now a left-handed biological molecule that behaves differently than a right-handed molecule, right? So as a boson particle, you're going to make your way to the cusp in the Earth's magnetosphere, which is the stairs of Osiris. You got to ascend the stairs of Osiris. Your heart has to be lighter than a feather. Right. So it may be that this left-handed feature shows the origin of recombinant species is related to the underlying asymmetry of weak interactions which violate charge parity. And turn to page 306. Recall that the deceased is present with his double, suggesting the idea of a quark and anti-quark pair that had enough time to restore to a pion, possibly due to less particle interference and cold temperatures at the northern polar region. This process, charge parity violating, the CPT theorem, with its 3 parameters of charge parity and time reversal, is the basic precept of particle physics, right? So it has a lot to do with, putting in the work has a lot to do with how you view this human experience, your approach to this human experience, and your perspective, right?
Like
so
putting in the work like at a job.
Absolutely. It's more than just reading the Isis thesis, understanding the knowledge, and then, you know, implementing meditation to orient yourself from left to right. It's a bit deeper than that. See, a lot of this has to do with not investing emotional attachment into this human experience, right? So as I was saying, we're dead right now. This is death, being in human physically embodiment, right? So our hearts are being weighed on the scale right now. Some people misunderstand it and they think it's something that's supposed to happen after we die in the sense of what we think of as death. No, we need to make our hearts lighter than a feather right now. This means nothing can weigh on your heart. Right? When you start getting emotionally invested in this human experience, like if I'm driving my car and someone cuts me off on the road and I get angry and I want to chase that person down, follow them, flip them off, give them the finger, kick their car, whatever, that's my heart being heavy. It's outweighing the feather. Right? Because
it's like a test.
Exactly. All of this is a test. It's a trial, right? To see how much we can detach from the ego. You know, like if you hear about a tragedy on the news where like this police officer unjustly shot this person and you want to go out and protest, that's putting weight on your heart. This human earthly experience is actually perfect the way it is. It's not something that needs to be fixed. Right? You know, when you become emotionally invested in something, when you buy into the illusion, when you think that this is real and you think that you're suffering, right? And you think that you're struggling,
Right.
right? And you're fretting and you're crying and you're like, why me? This can't be happening. You're buying into the illusion. Your heart's extremely heavy and the lytic lifestyle is not taking precedence, right? So we need to make the lytic cell cycle happen within us right now. It's not something that we wait to happen after the flesh decomposes, right? We need to make the battle of Horus versus Set take place within us right now, where the lytic cell cycle conquers the lysogenic cell cycle when the bacteriophage vector replicates the DNA and it comes out of the Earth cell, which is the E. coli host cell, thus causing the consciousness, the DNA information as boson signals to move up the stairs of Osiris. And that's the path of not reincarnating, busting out of the Earth cell, right? This process is happening right now, right? The viewpoint to have would be to say the true me is never even incarnated here. I'm not actually sitting at this table talking with you right now.
It's all an illusion.
It's all an illusion, exactly. Like, I'm not this physical vessel. I'm not the name on my driver's license, the name on the birth certificate. Like Buddha says, just be the observer. We need to observe this human experience, but not absorb this human experience.
Yes, observe,
right.
Not absorb.
So yeah, you know, Buddhism and the Upanishads, which we've done videos on, explain the same thing. You know, we want to live this life being the divine observer without attaching judgment or emotion to it, right? And that's making the heart lighter than the feather, and that's making the lytic cell cycle, not the lysogenic cell cycle, take place within our bodies with bacteriophage lambda and host cells that they reproduce themselves in, and that is the path to not come back here after you unalive from this human experience. Right? We should be already willing to let this go. Like, I'm already out of here. You know, like it doesn't matter when this body dissipates. You know what I'm saying? We're already out of here.
We're already out of here.
We're gone, baby.
Gone.
It's a done data.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? All right, give us a good outro, son.
What I have to say is that you're dead right now. You're not alive. And when you're dead, you are alive.
That's right.
Right.
And yeah.
And who cares about the age limit when you're gonna die? Because we want to get out of here.
You know, been here, done that, got the T-shirt. As far as this human experience goes, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's nothing. You know what I mean? It's nothing.
Nothing.
The Egyptians, the fact stands that they did call our life here death. So in so many words, when they speak of the death in the books, they meant living humans. The word death and the dead are used in the old scriptures, refer to living humanity in earthly embodiment. Now that is some profound shit. Referring to living humanity in earthly embodiment. We scurrying mortals are the dead. This is some nightmare shit. Right. Now they say that the Egyptians were the most illumined people ever walked the face of the earth, the Africans. They call them a sage race, a teacher race. The Egyptians said that we scurrying mortals are the dead of the Bible and other sacred books. And the dead spoken of there is the living existence here.